Well, this week we have this beautiful 1972 Honda CB750 Four. Customer did a wonderful job restoring this bike, even brought it back to the factory color. Now in this year bike, they had three color options: a briar brown metallic, a flake sunrise orange, or this candy gold that you see here, which I think is beautiful. Now this bike did come in because of a head issue. The customer restored this bike, found some pitting in the head, but went ahead with the rebuild. When he got everything together, he found out that it has low compression. So he bought a good used head off eBay, and it's up here in the shop with us. So this week we're going to attempt to swap this head out on this bike. And this is considered, I guess, the first super bike in history. They originally came with a 4-to-4 exhaust. The tail end kind of swooped up on the pipes. This one has a 4-to-2 exhaust, but the customer did a wonderful job with this. Now, on these bikes, this is a K2 motor, according to the serial number on the VIN. When it starts with the number 2, I believe that moves into the K2 series, and the manual actually shows you, the original shop manual, how to identify the motor. You can't really go by the stamping on the motor. That's just for Honda's internal numbers. They don't match up with the VIN number. You have to kind of go by the VIN number. So I believe this to be a K2 motor. Some of these now you can do the head work with the motor in the frame. On most you cannot. You have to take the motor out of the frame. So we'll see once we dig into it what we've got to do, but I suspect we're going to be pulling the motor out of this bike, and we're going to be having a fun time on this bike. Well, without further ado, without waiting any longer, let's get into working on this beautiful bike and get it back on the road for this customer. So welcome back to Butler Customs Motorcycle Shop. Our do's, our bars, I never can get that right. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to do is to go ahead and verify the low compression issue. It could be that something, was overlooked or didn't get put back right, or, the head might be in good shape. Is the timing right? I'm sure the fellow was meticulous in putting it back together, but you never know. Sometimes things just get overlooked. So what I want to do is get all these delicate pieces off and put somewhere safe. Hey, the only safe space I'm okay with is finding safe spaces for these things. So I want to get the tank, the seat, the two side panels at least off. We don't need that to check compression. And then we can go ahead and get to working in here. So we've got this oil spout over here. And we can easily, please be very gentle with these panels. Maybe even get you a prying tool in there if you need to. Because the last thing I want is to break one of these tabs off. And this panel has a little bit of paint chipping here where the spout goes, and a little ding right there. But I want to take care of these and put them up somewhere safe. So I got a spot cleaned out over there. We're going to lay these on a nice table with a cloth over it. Then we'll get this seat and that other side panel off. Let me get this out of the way because this is almost scraping right here. Yeah, that's a 4. Not to be scraping on that. There we go. So I like to kind of put my thumb up on the frame, grab behind, and just kind of slowly pop off. Looks like these grommets are new and been replaced, so they're nice and flexible. Now we can set this over here. There is a little bit of a boo-boo right there on top. The rest looks really good. So it's probably from the seat or something, not sure. Go ahead and put the oil spout back in for now so we don't get anything down in the tank. We'll take the key out. I bet the key seat is different. I bet that's what this other key is for. Yes, I'll turn that. And that pops the seat up like this. And then there'll be a couple pins here with cotter pins we can pull out and slide the main pins out. Let me show you that. So here's a cotter pin you can pull out, and then this pin can slide out. And we'll do the same on the front hinge as well. I'll put these actually back in the seat so we know where they go. Look how beautiful this is under here. He's got a little pouch here. I think I've got an original Honda, like that plastic key leather looking bag. I think I can give him. Oh, I bet he'd like that, because that's original. All right, I'm doing this blind here. Find my hinge. Where are you, hinge? There's my pin. Pull it out. Then I can lift up on the seat and just slide this pin out. Since things have been restored, makes them really, really easy. Now I'll just slide my pin back in there and put my little clip back in too, my little cotter pin back in. Smelling a lot of fuel all of a sudden too. Okay, I'll put the key back in here. We will need that for cranking purposes. And now all that's left is this beautiful tank. There is a little boo-boo right there. Little indent, but I like it. Kind of gives it character. Well, just a couple little blemishes on this side. Some paint chips up around the neck here of the tank, which is kind of common for these. So what we'll have here is this little kind of a rubber boot that kind of holds the tank in. We can lift up, kind of pull this back to free the back end of that tank. Kind of get it up. Okay, that's why I'm smelling gas. My fuel lines are disconnected already. So that's good. Now with this up, you want to be careful up here not to jam this up into the neck. So I'm just going to wiggle, and it'll come out this way. There we go. Now we can set this tank up. Be careful of the petcock there. So maybe put you a block of wood up under that to keep that side up. And now you can kind of see the issue of why you got to pull this motor out to get this out. The frame does not give you any room at all to lift this valve cover up enough to get it clear of your rocker assembly and your camshaft. You just don't have the room. Now some frames, the reason I didn't know that I said we could get away with not doing it is that some frames they'll take and cut here and here and make a kind of bolted bracket that you can put on and off for this. Some will cut and just weld up to like a T up into the here, and then that way you've got room. But on this, we just don't have the room. So we are going to have to do a motor pull. So before I start yanking everything off, I just want to check for compression. See what it actually is, and then that way we can, verify when we fix things. I'll go ahead and get these boots off. Good K&N boots, that's nice. And it's got the original key and carbs on it, 4 inline birds there. So we'll be, after we get the head figured out, we'll be syncing the carbs as well, or at least checking them to see if they're synced. So now for the compression test, I want to leave the carburetors on and I want to go full throttle. So with this being off, we're going to have to full throttle it on our own. So when we do the cranking, I want wide open throttle, all we can get, which is about right there. On the inline 4s, 1 is over here, 4 is on the other end. Okay, so I've got all the plugs out. They were 18 millimeter for the plugs. Plug 2 and plug 3, you're going to have not a special tool, but I keep one of these laying around that came in a Honda kit. It's very narrow and fits down in there, and then on this end I put a 22 millimeter with a wobble socket and an extension, and you can get in there. So now we're ready to do our compression test. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the key on. And on Honda bikes, the first click is the ignition key. Second click is like your auxiliary lights and stuff. Then I'm going to go over there and hold the throttle wide open. It's very important. This is, of course, a cold motor. The main and most important thing is not the high compression, but that you have consistent compression over all 4 cylinders. If there's a difference of about 10%, then something's wrong. So this is cylinder 1. I'm going to turn the key on. I'm going to go over and hold the throttle up and push the start button. You keep an eye on that gauge and tell me what you got, because I can't see it from here. All right, what do we got? Hey, that's very good. That's very good. We're at 170 there. Now, if you had a leak, you'd see it drop really quick. Now, it might drop a little, and that could be, you know, my gauge, my fittings. I just hand snuggle them in, so I'm not too concerned about that. But that's great, very good. Now, do we have that all the way across the board? That's the question. This might be the good cylinder, because he said he did take it down the road, but it had no power. And then they checked compression, had no compression. So cylinder 1 gets a thumbs up. Let's jump over to 4, because it's just easy to get this in there. And then we'll do 2 and 3. All right, I've got you set up here. We're on cylinder number 4. You keep an eye on that. I can actually see it. Watch it with you. All right, we're going to go full throttle. And we're cranking. All right, that's at 150. It is holding. It does look good. I mean, that's within good range there. Could it just be a timing issue with this? While we're over here, we'll check 2. 2 and 3 are angled like together. So 2 actually you can get to on this side, and number 3 you can actually get to better on the other side. Okay, I'm hoping you can see that right there. I think I can reach everything from this end. I already had the key on, okay. All right, 155, and it's holding. All that's left now is cylinder number 3. What do we got here? Let me stand over here and crank again, because I might have stopped it before it got full. What we got. So what we've got on these, cylinder 1 165, cylinder 2 155, cylinder 3 140, cylinder 4 150. So the 165 to 140 is a pretty big difference. Now, of course, you're dealing with a 54-year-old bike, right? No, 53-year-old bike. So these are pretty good numbers. I just want to see them more consistent. Let me show you what it looks like if you don't open the throttle up when you crank these things, when you do this test. Okay, so I'm not messing with the throttle at all. See the difference? So what you've got there, if you did not open your throttle or didn't have the carburetors on, you'd say, oh gosh, I got bad compression. Well, no, you don't. Now watch this. I'll open the carbs all the way up. I mean, wide open. Now watch. Okay, so that's almost 165, just below it. So that makes a huge difference. I've seen people do tests and they don't account for the carburetors not being on, and they think they have bad compression, and they actually don't. So with a 10% difference of 165, which is our highest at 16.5, so you minus 16.5 from 165, and the lowest we want to see is a 148.5. And the lowest we got on cylinder 3 is a 140. All the other ones are fine. They're within that 10% spec. So let me put the gauge back on cylinder 3, just see if I got a bad fitting on it that time or a bad reading. it might be that. So I want to retry that, because if it does come up to about the 148 range, we're good. And this bike should run absolutely fine on those readings. Okay, I've got the gauge set up here now, so it's not such a bend to try to fit it in there. The throttle's wide open. Let's see what we got now. 143. Yeah, it needs to be right there at 150, but it still should run pretty good like that. You know, I don't know if he would feel it lugging. I mean, it's past 10%, but barely. It's like, gosh, probably what, 10.6% difference from this good front cylinder to the lowest, which is number 3. And it's holding good. So, guys, I think this head is fine. I mean, with a fresh rebuild, you would think that it would be a lot more consistent and be a little bit higher. I mean, what was that? 142, I think is what we got that time. You'd want to see a little bit better. And I'm worried about that oil light not being on either. I think it does have oil in it if you took it down the road, surely. Okay, so what do we do? Do we pull this motor out and go ahead and throw a head on here? I don't think so. Not right now. If his timing was off, if there's no oil pressure. Oh, okay, hold on. He's got an oil pressure thing right here. Okay, he's got a gauge here. Let's see what it's doing. We're not getting anything on this oil pressure gauge he's got here, and the oil light's not on. That ain't good, is it? I don't see any leaking out, you know, seepage around the base gasket or the head gasket. I do see a little bit of leaking here out of, I think, what is this little pressure switch. Okay, I'm not pulling this motor right now. That's too good of a compression. It might be a carb sync issue. It might be a timing issue. I don't think it's a head issue. Could be wrong. Could be wrong, but wouldn't that be great? Man, that would save him a whole lot. And just the happiness of knowing he did it okay. He did it right. And also we need to check the valve lash as well. Maybe those weren't set right. Maybe they're way off. And that's what's causing the poor running. So possibility of 3 things. Way out of time, carburetors, or valve lash. Motor sounds good. Let's get the plugs back in it. Get the plug wires back on. I'm going to verify that the coils are going to the right plugs, but he's got them labeled here well. Okay, so according to this wiring diagram from the harness, factory harness, the yellow runs to coils 2 and 3, and the blue runs to a coil 1 and 4. So we have the yellow here to 2 and 3, and it's going back here to 2 and 3. We have this one that runs to the blue for 1 and 4. So he's got it wired right. We'll just stick those back up in there for now, like he had them. We'll throw our plugs in, and then we'll check for spark. So I went to the service manual to see what the spark plug gap was for these spark plugs, and right above that had the compression test thing. Okay, so it does say wide open throttle, but it also says choke open. So that would be up here, and we didn't do that. So before I throw these plugs in, let's get back on this number 3 cylinder and see if holding the choke up actually increases that a little bit for us. Now, it did say in the shop manual that anywhere from 150 to 170 is normal operating compression. So we have normal on 1, normal on 2, normal on 4. The only one that is a little bit low is number 3. And it's not that it's that low. I don't think it's low enough that it would not run well. The gap on these plugs is 24 thousandths to 28 thousandths. Okay, all plugs but one were really, really low. Let's get back over here to our number 3. 145 on the money. So it brought it up holding good too. Maybe the pitting he saw and that head is causing a little low compression there. But usually, you know, if you get a low compression like that that's just below the threshold, it's usually just a ring or something. Before we go to pulling this motor out, because I'm going to show you the easy way to pull the motor out if you're by yourself. You kind of have to do it this way, but you have to disassemble pretty much the bike. So before I do all that and then get in there and I'm like, oh, this looks fine, and then put the used head back on there, and then we get the same readings, and what did we do that for? You know, I don't want to ever do anybody like that. I did wind up putting the tank back on because I forgot on these inline 4, they have dual spouts for the fuel to come in. So I just set the tank on there. It's not strapped down or anything. We're going to put choke on. I'm going to go turn the fuel on. That should feed both lines. And we'll turn the key on and we'll see how it sounds. It should run. It should run with that, even if that's 5 pounds off of target. I want to turn the choke down a little bit because Hondas don't like much choking at all. See what we get there. I was feeling for compression back here too. Well, it's not spitting anything back out of the carburetors. It is not popping out of the exhaust. I think it might be carburetor issues. It doesn't sound like the timing is off. The compression is not that low. This should run unless these are not set properly or the timing is off. But if the timing was off, it would cough usually out of the carbs or pop out of the exhaust. These Hondas usually just start right up. I think it's a carburetor issue. There's our adjustment there. Can I get my mitts in there? Up on the idle. See if that makes a difference. Too high on the idle. Smidge. Getting good compression out of both pipes. A 62 PSI. Sounds to me like I'm hearing some chain. Wonder if the cam chain tensioner is not set properly. Sounds like it's coming more from back here. Now at idle, we're at about 50 psi on oil pressure. Yeah. Okay, now my oil light's turning on. Folks, I don't know. I don't think we need to do head work on this. For the age of that motor, I mean, I don't think we're going to get any better compression maybe out of a different used old head. I mean, it sounded good. I put it in 5th gear, I revved it up here, it took off. Now I will get on it and ride it. I think that'd be wise. I'll put some more gas in it. I will clamp these hoses back so they're not leaking. It might just need the carb synced up. And that might have been the low pressure, the low power he was feeling. But it sounds great. Now we can check the valve lash on this. I will check the timing, but it sounds great. The timing sounds fine. But I didn't hear any chatter either. I think the valves are probably setting fine. I think if he did have any issues, it would be here in the carbs. Hondas are usually good to start. This one took a while to start. I wonder how quick it'll start right back up. Let's see. I think he's got some carburetor issues. I think that's all it is. Okay, it does look like cylinder 3 is running hot, which could be the valve lash. 160, well, 145, 158, 210, 220, 226, 231, 222. Number 4, 160. So number 3 is running hot. It was number 3 with our low compression, wasn't it? Yes, it was number 3. It had a 143. I'm sorry, 145 with the choke ups, what we got to. But more than likely, it's going to be a lean condition causing number 3 to run hot. That's usually what you find. If you got a lean condition, from the valves being off adjusted or from the fuel not coming in correctly, you'll get a hot cylinder. Our best guess would be, let's go ahead and check our valves, make sure the clearances are right on these, and then we're going to start with the carbs. I've got that sync tool, so we're going to pull these plugs out, put the adapters in, put some more gas in the tank because the tank's a little bit low, and see how that does. I think that's going to be our issue. I'll contact the customer over this weekend and see what he wants to do. Tell him, you know, here's the deal, here's the numbers. We've got the carbs tuned now, and we might tune the carbs, redo the valve clearances, and get a little bit better compression out of 3. I've seen that happen. You might say, well, that's silly, but I have seen that happen. I'll just see what he wants to do. He might say, let's go ahead and just do the heads. Then we'll just do it. Well, we're back from over the weekend break. I did some research over the weekend. I did not contact the customer on this bike, and I'm glad that I did some research. It seems like these old bikes, you know, that are in their 50s and up, a 145, 143, 142 compression is actually a good compression. These bikes can even run off of 100 PSI compression-wise. I don't think this has a compression issue. Now, yes, cylinder number 3 is off more than 10%, but not by much. So let's do some leak down tests. Let's find out why cylinder 3 is lower than all the other ones, because all the other ones are really good. I mean, really good. It could be valve not seating well. It could be rings, could be head gasket in that area. I doubt it, since it was a fresh rebuild. And from what I've seen so far, it looks like he did a really good job of doing it. So I wonder why it's low, but it's not low enough that it's really that concerning. Now it is running lean on cylinder 3, so I think maybe the poor running issue could just be a carb issue. When you have a lean issue on a cylinder on this bike, you've got two coils. So one coil will feed number 1 and number 4. The other coil will feed number 2 and number 3. So if you've only got one cylinder that is having an issue, it's probably not going to be coil issue because the coil is firing. Now it could be a coil wire or the plug. Well, we know the plugs are brand new. We gapped them, we put them in. These wires look really good and it's running lean. So that means that that piston is getting hot. That cylinder in there is getting hot. We looked at the thermometer, digital shoot 'em temperature thing, and it was running hot. So we know it's sparking, right? Or is the heat just coming from the friction? Could rings be too tight? But that wouldn't give us a low compression unless it was a valve issue. But I say all that to say this. I got all these plug wires out. I pulled number 1 just to have a plug to just make sure and verify I've got spark coming out for cylinder number 3. That's all I want to do. There we go. All right, we got great blue spark. Just as I suspected, it's not an electrical issue. We have spark. What we have probably is a lean condition. I'm going to do the oil test. The oil will tell me if the compression goes up that the issue is in the actual rings. If that doesn't work and the compression stays the same, then the issue's probably not with the rings. Okay, so to get oil way back in there and down in that deep hole, I have devised a plan. I have a McDonald's straw, I have vacuum hose, and I have a turkey baster. Should work, right? Let's see. All right, I want to make sure my straw goes way down there in the hole. It's in the hole. Here's my turkey baster. How much oil is that? I don't know. It's a turkey baster, so it has no numbers on it. I can see the white of the straw, and I can see when oil is going in. I'll squeeze that straw down to make sure the oil goes down in there, and we'll see if we have any better compression. If we do, then we know it's our rings. That went up to 141 or 2. That's what we were getting in before too. Now I'm going to crank just to get that oil out and get me a rag up here. It's going to go everywhere and blow everywhere, but that's just what it is. Oh, I do not like that. Something is not right in there. These caps here are 17 millimeter head on them. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, that is not tight. Oh my. Okay, none of these were tight at all. At all. I'll need to check every one of them. But you'll just break it free or turn it free. And then we'll pull this out. This is for our intake on our cylinder number 3. And this is our exhaust. Okay, so on the inspection cover here, it's number 4 Allen head on these. It's got one on top and one on bottom here. And it's just a little cover for your timing here, but it'll have a crank there that we can turn as well. Now we do have 2 plugs out, and I'm hoping that'll relieve enough pressure so we can rotate. That'll come off, and right here is your nut to turn that we will turn very, very slowly. I might go ahead and take number 4 out since it's right here in my teeth. That will leave just number 2 in, and then we can rotate it a little bit easier. I'm so glad we didn't just kind of jump into taking the motor out, you know. I mean, we might have to anyway, and he might want us to anyway. The valve adjustment might be too tight, and it's leaving a valve open a little bit that's going to give us a low compression. Okay, on this nut here, a 24 is too loose and a 22 is too tight, and I don't have a 23, but 24 should work. It really doesn't take that much pressure, as you can see. I'm able to turn. I'm watching the valve go up. Let me put you up here so you can actually see. I don't know how well you can see that right there. I'll try to zoom in for you, and I can't really get the camera angled. I just got a tripod straight up and down. I need one that's got like an arm on it to kind of get in for these kind of shots. But I believe we're coming up on this intake valve. We're at the top. My number 4 intake is going down there. Now my number 3 is going down. And then I want to bring it all the way up to where there's no longer any pressure on that valve. So I'm going to go till it gets to the top here. And then right probably there, it's going to start pushing back down again soon. Now, okay. So there is no pressure on that. So that valve should be shut. Okay, so the exhaust and the intake, if you can hear that, they're both off lobe. It feels like my intake's a little bit tighter than my exhaust. So let me get the filler gauge, see what our tolerances is on those, and see if maybe that intake is just set a little too tight. The intake is set to a lower tolerance than the exhaust. So the intake is a 0.05 millimeter, which is a 0.002 in inches. That's the intake. And then the exhaust is set to a 0.08 millimeter or a 0.003 in inches. So we'll do our intake first. Hold this right to get that exhaust down. My filler gauge down and flat. So it takes a little finagling. All right, my apologies. I lost some footage here of checking the valves. I did check all the valve clearances, and they were all right on the money. So let's continue on. I did go ahead and hook up the routing for our throttle cables, because we will need that to rev and as we tune. So these are the ports here that we're going to tune from. So you just take this little cap out. You will reuse this, so do not lose it. And then my carb tuner comes with 2 different types of adapters, one that'll fit in this and ones that are a little bit bigger. So what you want to do, they even give you a cutout here, but you want to just not smash, don't smash down hard, because you got an O-ring here. You just want to seal it, and that's all you want. You don't want it to, you're not trying to get it super tight or anything like that. These little caps have a screw and a washer. And then this one, I have to hold my mouth right. Now we're ready for our hoses and our tuner. And then we will have to put the tank back on. Okay, my dampers go toward the carb side. Now our tuner can hang. Make sure everything's clear of the exhaust and anything hot. We can start the bike, get it up to operating temperature, see what it's reading. I believe number 3 would be very, very low. Alright, our 2 and 3 is really low. We're running at about 2,000 RPMs right now. Should be between 800 and 1,300 to do this adjustment. But with these running so low, it's not going to idle until I raise this up.
Carbon monoxide gas leaking. Please open the window and the door.
Oh wow.
Attention please. Carbon monoxide gas leaking. Please open the window and
Well, that's good. I never knew if that thing worked or not. That's good. Okay. I think I ran out of gas. But hey, we're getting there. So, maybe I do need to open the door. So it's a fiddle game. So what you have to do, boy, I hope that my vacuum lines aren't getting too hot there. As you mess with one carb, you'll mess with the idle. So you'll have to let it settle down, adjust the idle, go through all those. You'll do them 4 or 5 times, but let me open these doors and get that thing to stop. Okay, I got more gas in. Now let's see what we got. It's getting a little better. I think that rattling and stuff I'm hearing is in that reducer starter gear or the starter itself. It's making a crazy noise. But now let's watch it. Should fire up a little bit better for us. Give it a little choke. All right, let me turn the idle up a little bit. All right, let me bring one up a little bit. Should be between 20 and 22 on number 1. Number 1 and number 2 are looking pretty good. Number 3 I got to bring up. Then I got to bring the idle back up. Looking better. We're getting there. Now number 4, got to bring down. Number 3 is a little high, but it is in range. Boy, it's sounding better, isn't it? That rattling though in that starter. It's looking a lot better though, isn't it? Let's see what we got temperature wise. Number 4, 127. Number 1, 192. Number 2, 144. And our question is 188 on number 3. Better? Better. 1 and 3 are the same temp now. 2 and 4 are running just a tad cooler. Let me try to drop the idle down a little bit. Okay, that's looking pretty good right there. I might bring 3 down a hair. Idling right at 1300. I like that. Let me give it a little throttle. Bring 1 up. That starter gear sounds awful. Number 1 is 212. Number 2 is 155. Number 3 is 170. Number 4, 165. Much better. They're humming right along there. Now, I have not been into the carbs. I don't know about the condition of them, but he said they were cleaned and set. Of course, they were not set, but they're sounding pretty good. This rattle down here really concerns me. I think we can just lock it down at that. I don't think it's going to get any better than that. All right, guys, I really don't see it getting any better than that. Let me put the lock nut back on all these carbs. And in case you didn't know, I've done a video on a CB750 carb tune before. So to start, of course, you'll hook your vacuum lines up after you take the plug out. You'll run these in till they stop. You'll go a full turn out, leave them alone. Then as far as balancing, you'll balance the sliders up here. So you'll take this lock nut off. Then it's a 17 millimeter nut on here with a wrench, 10 millimeter lock nut on top. Then you adjust this. I believe as you take it out, the pressure goes up, I think, or maybe it goes down, one of the two. But you will adjust these. They are very delicate. So that's why you got to turn one, let it settle down, adjust the idle, check it. You got to go all the way across, you got to come all the way back, all the way. You just keep doing it till you find that good balance like we found. The choke is off, the bike is warmed up. I'm just going to try my best now not to move these and then to lock these down. If you want my opinion, these are a really bad design. And you got 4 of them, so 4 bad designs. Because when you go to lock these down, you can easily move them. And on my dad's CB750, one of the sliding arm was kind of, you could almost push it on down, which would, mess with everything. And I'm glad my carbon monoxide thing's working. I've never heard that go off before. I thought I heard something on the video. I'm like, is somebody talking? It was the robot telling me to quit doing dumb stuff. I'll try not to move it. Now, once I get them all locked, we'll turn it back on, see how they're doing. Maybe just take my finger and kind of adjust it just a little bit, because they are hard. 1 and 4 is easy to do. 2 and 3 in a frame, in a stock frame, is very, very hard to lock down without moving it. All right, let me move you out of the way, or unless you want to hold this wrench. Okay, I'll move you out of the way. Go down the road with this. I want to see what kind of power it's got. Because, guys, I'm thinking what we've got on, the compression that we got, I just don't know if the customer would want to go in there and do all that work just so you get maybe 10 more pounds of combustion. I mean, if it runs good and there's no issue with it, is it really a thing you want to do? Now, I'll do it, but I'm not the kind of guy that likes to do unnecessary work just to charge a customer, because I wouldn't want to be done like that, and so I don't do anybody else like that. So you have a starter motor here under this case. You have it run into a gear that's called I think a reducer gear, and then you have it run into your starter gear on your crank. But my vibration and rattle is coming from back here where the drive gear is, the sprocket gear is. So I might take this cover off right here. I can feel it actually. So let's do that, kind of inspect while it's running, inspect what's going on. I believe I can just pop this off. There's a lot of oil down in there. Now, let me get my stethoscope out and see if I can figure that out. Whatever it is coming from back in here. What would that be? We're going to call that good. And we are going to go down the road on this and see how this does. I'm so glad I invested in this thing right here. It has been so good. And you heard how it was running before, and now immediately it's a better machine. It rode great. Had tons of power for my big behind on it. I looked like a bear on the tricycle on it. Tons of power, uphill. I got up to about 70. It didn't backfire, it didn't miss, it didn't sputter. I didn't feel any low and then surging. It did great. I know that cylinder number 3 was just below the threshold. But again, guys, this is over a 50-year-old bike. And there's guys out there running with 100 PSI and they're fine. So I don't know if it's worth it to the customer to go in here to replace a head when it's really good compression for what he's got. I don't know if he'd get any better compression. That's what I'm saying. I think he did new rings, so maybe those just need to be, heated up and go through their cycles, and that compression might come around. Everything ran good. Now that we got the carbs synced, I could tell as I was riding, like the carbs were getting better. I think some, non-ethanol and some seafoam in here and clean those carbs out a little bit better would help. I don't like that it has such a hard time starting when it's cold. It shouldn't. I did check the timing. That's good. It ran really good. Now there was some hopping in the front end. You might have saw that in the video. I don't know how good the video turned out. But he does have, I think, new tires and new rims going on here, so I'm not too concerned about that. I did tighten up the rear brake. It brakes a whole lot better now. You don't have to go all the way down. I tightened up the banjo bolt on the brake line on the front. It's not leaking anymore. I tightened up his right-hand mirror, so that's good and tight. I don't know. I put maybe about 15 miles on it and put it through its paces, revving and going slow and going fast. Going up a hill, it didn't lug or anything, so I'll talk to the customer, see what he wants to do. If he wants to go ahead and put that new head on just to feel better, we'll do that. We'll get it back on the lift and we'll take the motor out and we'll go through that. Engine noise or transmission noise kind of went away as I was riding, so I think it just wants to be ridden, you know what I'm saying? Now in the video of us riding, my son-in-law rode with me on the Evo, and so you might have heard a different motor noise and been like, that don't sound like a Honda. So he was on his Harley Dyna behind me. So if there's some moments you hear a different motor, that was him, but it did great. I'm very pleased with how it rode. I don't think if it was mine personally, I might keep that head and just ride this until, maybe something happened and he lost compression on a couple of cylinders, then I would go in. The way it was when it came up here, with those carburetors being so out of sync, I don't think cylinder 3 and cylinder 2 was firing very good. So he was running on just pretty much 1 and 4, which would explain when he was saying it felt like he had no power. So I think the main issue was just his carburetors. We checked the valves, the valve lash and valve clearances, they're all set right, the timing's set right. Now there is a little bit of weepage, oil weepage on this valve cover, but not enough like it's leaking. It's just a little weeping. So wherever he gets it going, just take your rag and wipe it off, should be fine. I will check the torque though on this valve cover and those gaskets. Yes, to change the gasket on this cover does require a motor pull. Now some people can cut the gasket, set it up in there, you kind of raise the cover up and take some RTV and seal around that where you cut it and then put it back down. Some people do that because a motor pull on this is a big job, and once you do that you kind of want to go through everything. My only issue is how it doesn't like to start cold starting, so maybe as the carbs come around that won't be an issue anymore, because Hondas are usually quick to start. So I think his issue was carburetors. They were not synced at all, and 2 and 3 weren't really putting out anything. But we got them dialed in now. They're running good. I'm hoping I'm going to come out and start it in the morning and see how it starts. But I'll see, the customer might say, hey, since I got the heads, let's just go ahead and do the head work on it. We might have this back on the lift. So thank you guys so much for hanging out in the shop with me. this week if we're going on a ride. And listen, this Sunday night at 7 o'clock Central, I'll be doing a live. So come hang out in the shop with me and let's just talk shop and talk life and tell you about some things coming up, projects coming up, and whatnots. So thank you guys so much for helping me out. And tell your mama now I said hi.